windows and country lace curtains was peaceful and idyllic. The garden was surrounded by twig fencing. Under a lone apple tree sat a long wooden table where friends, family, and neighbors might gather to eat and talk. Smith carefully spread out pages from Paris Monde across the linoleum floor of the spacious farmhouse kitchen. The newspaper front page screamed as well, "Mr. Smith takes surgeon captive in Paris." And so he had. The idée fixe that had captured the public's fancy and fear was that Mr. Smith might be an alien visitor roaming and ravaging the earth for dark, unknown, perhaps unknowable reasons. He didn't share any traits with humans. The lurid news stories reasoned. He was described as not of the earth, incapable of any human emotion. He studied the French surgeon, lying nearly unconscious on the kitchen floor. One FBI report stated that Mr. Smith seems to appreciate beauty. He has a human artist's eye for composition. Observe the studied way in which he arranges the corpses. Smith let his gaze wander around the country kitchen. There was an antique black cast-iron stove with brass knobs, and a large white porcelain sink. Adjacent to the sink, just above a butcher-block work table, hung an impressive array of kitchen knives. The knives were beautiful, absolutely perfect in every way. He was avoiding looking at the victim, wasn't he? He knew that he was. He always did. Finally, he lowered his eyes and looked into the victim's. So, this was Abel Sante. This was lucky number 19. On the American Airlines flight to Europe, I noticed that mine was the only overhead lamp glaring as the flight droned over the Atlantic. There had never been a mass killer to match Mr. Smith's unique approach to violence, not from a scientific vantage point anyway. Schizoid personality disorder types, as they are currently called, tend to be introverted and indifferent to social relationships. This freak is a classic loner. He tends to have no close friends or close relationships, except possibly family. He exhibits an inability to show affection in acceptable ways. He usually chooses solitary activities for his free time. He has little or no interest in sex. Narcissists are different. They exhibit little or no concern for anyone but themselves, though they sometimes pretend to care about others. True narcissists can't empathize. They have an inflated sense of self, can become highly unstable if criticized, and feel they are entitled to special treatment. Avoidant personality disorder types usually won't get involved with other people unless they're completely sure of acceptance. Sadistic personality disorder types are the ultimate in badness as destructive individuals go. They habitually use violence and cruelty to establish control. At different times during the long and complex investigation, Mr. Smith had fit all 4 of these classic murderer types. He would seem to fit one personality disorder type almost perfectly, then change into another, back and forth at whim. He might even be a 5th type of psychopathic killer, a whole new breed of disorder type. Who could ever begin to forget the cold-blooded murder of a loved one? I couldn't. Nothing has diminished its vividness or unreality in nearly 4 years. It goes like this, exactly the way I told it to the Cambridge police. It is around 2 a.m, and I use my key to open the front door of our 2-bedroom apartment on Inman Street in Cambridge. Suddenly I stop. I have the sense that something is wrong in the apartment. Details inside are particularly memorable. I will never forget any of it. I'd had a few glasses of wine at Gillian's with some other medical students, recent graduates like myself. We were letting off steam after too many days and nights and weeks and years in the Harvard pressure cooker. I was high from the wine, but not close to being drunk when I got home. I was in a good mood, unusually carefree. Odd, guilty detail. I was horny for Isabella. Free. I remember singing With or Without You on the way back in my car, a 10-year-old Volvo, befitting my economic status as a med student. I vividly remember standing in the foyer, seconds after I flicked on the hall lights. Isabella's coach purse is on the floor. The contents are scattered about in a 3 or 4 foot radius. Very, very strange. Loose change, her favorite George Jensen earrings, lipstick, assorted makeup containers, compact cinnamon gum, all there on the floor. Why didn't Isabella pick up her purse? Is she pissed at me for going out with my med school chums? That wouldn't be like Isabella. She is an open woman, liberal-minded to a fault. I start back through the narrow, winding apartment, looking for her everywhere. The apartment is laid out railroad style, small rooms on a tight track, leading to a single window that looks onto Inman Street. I become more and more frantic, and then afraid. "Isabella!" I call at the top of my voice. "Isabella! Where are you?" Then I stop. Everything in the world seems to stop. What I see in our bedroom will never leave me. I can still see, smell, even taste every obscene detail. Maybe this is when my sixth sense is born, the strange feeling that is so much a part of my life now. "Oh, God! Oh, Jesus, no!" I scream loud enough for the couple who live above us to hear. This isn't Isabella, I remember thinking. Everything in my life has changed in a heartbeat, or lack of one. I check for signs of breathing, a sign of life. I can feel no pulse in the femoral or carotid arteries. Not a beat. Nothing at all. Not Isabella. This can't be happening. Cyanosis, a bluish coloration of the lips, nail beds, and skin, is already taking place. Blood is pooled on the underside of her body. The bowels and bladder have relaxed, but these bodily secretions are nothing to me. Isabella's beautiful skin looks waxy, almost translucent, as if it isn't her, after all. Her pale green eyes have already lost their liquid and are flattening out. They can no longer see me, can they? I realize they will never look at me again. The Cambridge police arrive at the apartment somehow. They are everywhere, all at once, looking as shocked as I know I look. Isabella is gone. We never even got to say goodbye. Isabella is dead, and I can't bring myself to believe it. The worst thing, what I would never forget or forgive, the final thing, Mr. Smith had cut out Isabella's heart. My reverie ended. My plane was landing at Charles de Gaulle Airport. I was in Paris. So was Smith. I checked into the Hotel de la Seine. Up in my room, I called St. Anthony's Hospital in Washington. Alex Cross was still in grave condition. I purposely avoided meeting with the French police or the crisis team. Meanwhile, Mr. Smith contacted the Sûreté. He always did it this way, a call to the local police, a personal affront to everyone involved in chasing him. Bad news. Always terrible news. "All of you have failed to catch me. You've failed, Pierce." He had revealed where the body of Dr. Abel Santé could be found. The French police, as well as members of Interpol, were gathered in large numbers at the entrance to the Parc de Montsouris. It was 1:10 in the morning when I arrived there. I spotted an inspector from Interpol whom I knew and waved in her direction. Sandra Greenberg was nearly as obsessed about catching Mr. Smith as I was. She was stubborn, excellent at her job. Sandra looked particularly tense and uneasy as she walked toward me. "I don't think we need all these people, all this help," I said, smiling thinly. "It shouldn't be too damn hard to find the body, Sandy. He told us where to look." "I agree with you," she said. "But you know the French. This is the way they decided it should be done." Sandra was a tall brunette, willowy on top, but with heavy legs, almost as if two body types had been fused. She was British, witty and bright, yet tolerant even of Americans. She was devoutly Jewish and militantly gay. I enjoyed working with her, even at times like this. I walked into the Parc de Montsouris with Sandy Greenberg, arm in arm, once more into the fray. Why do you think he sends us both messages? Why does he want us both here? We're the stars in his weird galaxy. We're also authority figures. Perhaps he likes to taunt authority. We began the search at 1:15. At 2 a.m, we still hadn't located the body of Dr. Abel Santé. It was obvious to me that Smith wanted to make it hard for us to locate the body. He had never done that before. He usually discarded bodies the way people throw away gum wrappers. What was Smith up to? The crowd of onlookers already numbered in the hundreds, and it was 2:00 in the morning. Sandy peered out at them. "Mr. Smith's Sorting Fan Club," she sneered. "What a time! What a civilization!" My beeper went off at 2:30. The noise startled Sandy and me. I had received a fax or a voicemail, and I was certain it was from Smith. I looked at Sandy. "Pierce, welcome back to the real work, to the real chase. I lied to you. That was your punishment for unfaithfulness. I wanted to embarrass you, whatever that means. I wanted to remind you that you can't trust me, or anyone else, not even your friend, Miss Greenberg. Besides, I really don't like the French. I thoroughly enjoyed torturing them here tonight. Poor Dr. Abel Santé is at the Butte-Chaumont Park. He's up near the temple. I swear it. I promise you. Trust me. Ha ha. Isn't that the quaint sound you humans make when you laugh? I can't quite make the sound myself. You see, I've never actually laughed. Always, Mr. Smith." Sandy Greenberg was shaking her head, muttering curses in the night air. She had gotten the message, too. "Butte-Chaumont Park," she repeated the location. Then she added, "He says that I shouldn't trust you. Ha ha. Isn't that the quaint sound we humans make when we laugh?" It was nearly 3 a.m. when we arrived at the Butte-Chaumont. The park was deserted, but brightly lit with street lamps and police and army searchlights. A low bluish-gray fog had settled in, but there was still enough visibility for our search. The Butte-Chaumont is an enormous area, not unlike Central Park in New York. Back in the mid-1800s, a man-made lake was dug there and fed by the Saint-Martin's Canal. A mountain of rocks was then constructed, and it is full of caves and waterfalls now. The foliage is dense almost anywhere you choose to roam, or perhaps to hide a body. It took only a few minutes before the police radio message came for us. Dr. Santé had been located not far from where we had entered the park. Mr. Smith was finished playing with us. For now. Sandy and I got out of the patrol car at the gardener's house near the temple, and we began to climb the steep stone steps. I could hear the low, pitiful whine of search dogs nearby, and then I saw 4 high-strung, shivering animals leading the way. Predictably, the new crime scene was a unique one. It was quite beautiful, with an expansive view of Montmartre and Saint-Denis. "Up ahead," Sandy whispered. "There's something." I could see soldiers and police loitering in small groups. Mr. Smith had definitely been there. A dozen or more packets, each wrapped in newspaper, were carefully laid out on a sloping patch of grass. "Are we sure this is it?" one of the inspectors asked me in French. His name was Fuchs. "What the hell is this? Is he making a joke?" "It is not a joke. I can promise you that. Unwrap one of the bundles. Anyone will do," I instructed the French policeman. He just looked at me as if I were mad. "As they say in America," Fuchs said in French, "this is your show." I walked over to the eerie pile of packages, or perhaps gifts was a better word. There was a variety of shapes, each packet meticulously wrapped in newspaper. Mr. Smith, the artiste. A large round packet looked as if it might be a head. French butcher shop. That's his motif for tonight. "It's all just meat to him," I muttered to Sandy Greenberg. "He's mocking the French police." I carefully unwrapped the newspaper